Hello, this is Drew Mahan with Cloud County Community College, and we're doing a project called Career Connections. It's part of our freshman orientation class called College Skills here at Cloud. So first-time freshmen will be viewing these videos to try and get an understanding of what challenges and what things they'll face out in the career path. And they're going to hear from some of our alumni on how they got to Cloud, what choices they made in education, and then also how some of those careers have changed as they've gone forward. So we have Kevin Meyerhoff with us today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from and what your education path looked like from high school through college?
Well, I am Kevin Meyerhoff. I grew up in Lynn, Kansas, which is about 45 minutes from Concordia, so it wasn't that far of a stretch to go to Cloud. Lynn's a small town that had, well, I had a big graduating class for Lynn. I had 35 classmates.
That is big for Lynn.
So Cloud County was a good little step up. For me, the campus size was a great stepping stone for me. It offered a great variety of different class or majors. And the best part of I've experiencing Cloud was just how diverse of a group or wide range of where people were from. So I found it very beneficial. I went to Cloud in the early to mid 80s. Was drawn to Cloud because their business program was working with Kansas State, transferred 85% of my credit hours from Cloud to K-State. So it was a very beneficial step for me to start at Cloud County.
Awesome. So when you were here in the 80s, do you have a specific advisor or teacher that kind of helped you through that choice of your career path?
Not one in particular. The faculty at that time were all very approachable. They seemed to have, in all honesty, I didn't really, I had a major, which was business, but I really didn't have an idea of what path or what I really drove me to finish at Kansas State with a business management degree.
Okay.
The career path was, it just didn't have a lot of emphasis at that time.
Gotcha. And that's something that a lot of these freshmen are maybe wrestling with right now, is how do you connect point A to point B, that starting point, first year freshman, to that career path. And do you have to have a degree in a certain field to work in a certain field? And it's not always true. We've had a lot of other alumni on this interview process that basically they might have started one area their first semester or even for their associate's degree, but then transitioned into a broader area or more specific area as they go through their bachelor's. So what kind of challenges did you have, at least in your college setting, at least back then?
Well, just kind of answer it, or to tap onto what you had talked about. I originally was interested in accounting, and it took accounting 2 for me to realize that was not my path.
Yeah.
So it's what you got to kind of, if you have an idea of the generalized area, it was very beneficial to sample a lot of the different classes to get that feeling.
What about at Kansas State, the transfer process anyway, besides just academics? Was there anything else that stood out to you about that transfer process?
I have 2 boys in college right now and a daughter in high school, and with them transferring this year, they went to community college here, and when they were moving on to KU and K-State Polytechnical, it made me kind of think back what my experience was, and I couldn't remember exactly what the transfer process was, other than just what was documented. There was a guidebook, or not guidebooks, but there was catalogs that you learned a lot of that information from, or you went directly to the school, to the admissions department to ask questions there.
Right.
Today, the resources are so much more readily accessible. You can, depending on how hard you want to find that information or resources of who you can go talk to, it today is a much better experience.
Right. I think the fourth question I kind of have is, who are your mentors? Maybe exiting the education path and into your now career, or maybe kind of who pushed you in certain areas once you were transitioning out of education?
It was all personal for me. I lacked in reaching out to areas of people that I knew, or outside of a little bit of faculty. Part of the reason I'm here today is I didn't have that experience, and really would love to be able to provide a little bit of being an ear to somebody and asking questions, and what's out there, or what other people did.
Right. No, that's definitely important to kind of see where your path has taken you. And have you been in the same, I guess, business field or the same career during your time from when you left college, or tell us about that path, if you jumped around to different companies or different opportunities?
After graduating at Kansas State, I had about a year where I just worked different jobs.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of it was just motivation, not knowing exactly what I wanted to. But after about a year, we moved to Kansas City, and I worked a couple of different jobs over the course of the next 2 years that were kind of entry level. But it was really about 1990 that I jumped into banking because it was familiar to me. And so I think from that time frame, it wasn't really said enough that to get where you want your dream job, but you've really got to start at the entry level positions.
Right.
And starting in the banking field, you're experienced, you have the experience of multiple different types of career paths there. So today, that's what I would recommend in finding, find a good reputable company, somebody that's going to likely be around, and then just find a good place to start.
And I think that's important, what you said about getting an entry-level position. But then I think I try to preach to freshmen and any kids that I end up coaching too, is be more valuable than your paycheck. If you're not more valuable than your paycheck, you can get replaced really quickly. But you also want to have other opportunities open up because of the work that you're doing currently. You can't take care of the big opportunities until you take care of the small ones. So those are good points that you bring up.
I've been in banking 30 years. Most of it's been in like commercial credit card department, but you get that path of 2 or 3 other departments within that. So it's just always making contacts, always keeping up to date with your coworkers and learning from them.
How have you or your company handled, I guess, this change with COVID?
Surprisingly, I'd still say today a great majority of us are working from home.
Okay.
I'm in a position within my title is an implementation specialist. So I'm in charge of onboarding new clientele to some of our technology that's going to help them with their credit cards.
Okay.
And while it's helpful to all be present together, it's not as vital to have to be in the office. The ability to work from home is almost seamless for us, and we're scheduled to be at home through the end of this calendar year.
I think there's something to be said about this freshman group coming in, that they've experienced so much even through the end of their senior year. But being able to adapt and change is going to be probably a prescription for all these kids to succeed, and no matter what fields they're going into. With that being said, what are your future goals for yourself still within anything you want to left to achieve within your career or even after your career's finished?
Well, what's amazing, and it brings up a point of, I've been in with my current employer for close to 3 years now. I'd been with another bank for 20, almost 25 years. But banking and with many other industries, it's always changing, always staying, trying to stay relevant and maximizing how you do things. So just in the last 6 months, we are, as in our bank, it changed to where the credit card division moved into the treasury management aspect of the bank. So it gives me now a lot more resources to learn more about that part of the banking industry that I haven't worked with for a long time. So you just keep your eye open, and new opportunities can present themselves. And with what I might be able to learn with more of the treasury management piece of the banking, it gives a lot more opportunities down the road. So
And
happy with where it's going.
well, you bring up something very, very key to everybody's success that's come back or called back or done these interviews with us with Cloud alumni anyway. And they're always talking about continuing to learn through their career or their path, whether it's continuing education and getting master's degrees or other different credentials. Every single person that's enjoyed their careers or had success in their careers has said, I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly picking up new things, I'm constantly evaluating and changing. And that's something that college sometimes is overlooked, is that stimulus to change is constant throughout your lifetime when you become an adult. But trying to gear yourself up to adapting is sometimes really tough to swallow when you're just trying to get the hang of things when you're a new freshman. So
we could compare what computers class today is versus what I went through in the 80s. Languages that don't get used anymore.
Yeah. And new technologies, all sorts of stuff. These are kind of bonus questions now. What was your dream job when you were a kid?
It's funny. I was looking through some things before, and I was like, I wanted to be a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
Loved baseball growing up. But it might sound funny, but business is always when it came to what path to take, it was always in the business field. It just was never anything truly identified.
Yeah. Did you do any activities or groups or athletics here at Cloud?
I played golf for 3 semesters at Cloud.
Okay.
Was a part of the Great Society Singers, and had some good friends who were on the soccer team. And basketball was great at that time. So there was never a want for trying to find something to do. There was always a lot of activities there at Cloud. So
that's great.
Great experience.
With somebody going into your field, what's the worst advice that you think you've heard somebody give in your field?
Oh my.
This one always comes for people, so.
Nothing comes to mind, but it's just, if I were to give advice, it would be don't just rely on your knowledge of the job. Okay. And let that be your strong point. Earlier you reiterated how important it is to learn more of new things around you, as things are always changing. Just don't sit on your heels and just not provide yourself with the ability to learn more.
I think that kind of ties into a bigger point when you get into a world like the adult world and career world. Everybody's affected by laws changing, politics, a natural disaster. Of course, COVID has just proved how interconnected all these businesses and things are. So finding out more broad-based learning about the things that affect your career is really important as well. Any favorite memories about Cloud that you can kind of bring up? You brought out some of those activities, but if you have any others, I think that would be a good way to sign off today.
Lived on the campus, in the campus apartments for my 2 years that I was there. The favorite memories were just getting to know everybody that went to school there. Everybody was always real receptive, very friendly. Just the camaraderie with fellow classmates, intramural sports that just banded together, and it was probably where I grew up more at Cloud those 2 years and like all 4 years of high school together. So
Right.
it just great place to be, and kind of always watched Cloud in the news, and the athletics department is doing really good there.
Yeah. No, it's amazing to see how much development and change happens when you're finally on your own. And some of these kids will develop the best relationships that they kind of keep throughout some of their adulthoods and be at each other's weddings and things like that. But it's always really neat to hear from alumni, and we're definitely proud of everybody's path that's gone before us and able to reconnect some of those new freshmen, new T-Birds with former T-Birds, and hopefully just help somebody out. So are you okay with us sharing your contact information with any prospective students in the banking, business, that kind of area?
Yes, I'm fine with it.
All right.
Happy to help.
Well, again, thanks for your time, and we definitely appreciate you reaching back out.
Enjoyed it. Thank you, Drew.